I first laid eyes on Marie when I was returning from the gym, drenched in sweat, my muscles aching but satisfied. She stood out, not because she was flaunting it, but because she wasn't. Her loose jogging shorts and BYU t-shirt clung to her modestly, yet I couldn't help but notice the promise beneath an inviting contrast to what I usually saw in the city. Her parents were struggling with a small couch right outside her apartment. They fumbled and muttered, casting anxious looks at the narrow stairs. I could tell it was only going to end in tears or splinters, so I walked over, my gym bag slung over one shoulder. "Need a hand with that?" I asked, tilting my head towards the couch. Marie's father looked up, squinting at me like I was an apparition. Marie's mother just sighed with relief. "Oh, yes, young man. That'd be wonderful," she said, her voice strained. Marie caught my eye, a flash of something like curiosity, perhaps even admiration, passing through her hazel eyes. I shrugged off my gym bag, picked up the couch, and hoisted it over my shoulders. Easy as lifting a pillow. "Which way?" I asked, and they gestured toward the apartment door. Marie's father fumbled to open it while I navigated the stairs with ease. As I set the couch down in her living room, her parents thanked me profusely. Marie lingered near the doorway, trying to act casual. "Thanks, that was really nice of you," she said, her voice soft, barely above a whisper. "Don't mention it. Happy to help a neighbor," I said, flashing her a grin. Her parents shared one last thank you before they shuffled out, likely off to grab another load from wherever they had parked. I noticed Marie's lingering gaze and the slight disappointment when I grabbed my gym bag to leave. That look, I filed it away, certain it would come in handy later. The next few weeks, our paths crossed often. Morning jogs, late-night grocery runs, elevator rides, you name it. Marie's jogging attire slowly shifted from loose-fitting to more form-fitting. The first time she wore those snug leggings, I had to stifle a grin. Her toned legs and the hint of gluteal dimples she'd worked so hard for were hard to miss. "Hey Marcus, heading out again?" she asked during one of our impromptu hallway meetings. "I guess I'm just a creature of habit." "You hitting the trails?" I teased, noting her running shoes and the way her ponytail bounced when she nodded. "Yeah, trying to stay in shape. It's so different running here compared to Utah," she replied, her face lighting up with those memories. I chuckled. "Well, you're doing great. If you ever need a running buddy, let me know. I know the city pretty well." Her cheeks tinged pink. "Thanks, I might take you up on that." There were mornings I'd spot her from my balcony, running laps around the block. I'd make a point to catch her coming back, striking up a casual conversation about her route, her pace, anything to keep her talking just a bit longer. One Sunday morning, I saw her jogging back just as I was coming out for my coffee run. Her workout gear had become progressively less conservative, a slim tank top and shorts that highlighted her athletic figure. "Morning, Marie." "Catching the early worm, huh?" I greeted her. She wiped the sweat from her brow, her face flushed. "Yeah, trying to beat the heat." "How's the city treating you so far?" I asked, genuinely curious. "It's been interesting." "Different, but good different," she replied, taking a sip from her water bottle. "Well, if you're ever looking for something to do or need someone to show you around, don't hesitate to knock," I said, tapping my apartment door for emphasis. Her smile was warm, sincere. "I will, thanks, Marcus." We'd gotten into the habit of sharing fleeting glances and stolen moments, each one slightly more charged than the last. I noticed how her gazes grew longer, her conversations more comfortable. This wasn't just me imagining things, there was a spark there, something undeniable. I figured patience would pay off. Let the attraction build, let her curiosity peak. After all, good things came to those who waited, especially when you were as intriguing as she was. I had just finished tying my shoelaces when I crossed paths with Marie on the staircase. She looked like she'd spent the day out in the sun, her skin glowing with a healthy tan. There was a slight wobble in her step, and I caught the gleam in her eyes that hinted she'd had a few drinks. "Hey, you out enjoying the city today?" I asked, straightening up. My suit probably looked a little out of place against her casual, slightly tipsy vibe. Marie giggled softly, brushing her hair back. "Yeah, went out with some friends. But it looks like you're going somewhere fancy." I have a date, I replied with a grin, not missing how her eyes traveled over me. What about you? Any plans tonight? She leaned against the railing, her lips curling into a flirtatious smile. Not really. How about we grab a drink? I have some good stuff at my place. The suggestion hung heavy in the air. I couldn't believe my luck. It was like the universe had just handed me an opportunity on a silver platter. Sure, why not? A pre-drink sounds perfect. We headed into her apartment, and the first thing I noticed was the little dog yapping at my feet. It was one of those breeds that thought it was much bigger than it actually was. I crouched down and gave the dog a pat, trying to win its approval. Don't mind him, Marie said, waving dismissively as she headed to the kitchen. He's just excited to have company. Marie set about making us drinks. She mixed the gin and tonic with ease, turning to hand me one before grabbing her own. Cheers, she said, tilting her glass towards mine. Cheers, I echoed, our glasses clinking softly. We took a sip, and I could feel the cool gin and tonic course down my throat. Marie glanced down at herself, then up at me with that same playful look. I need to change into something more comfortable. Be right back. She sauntered off to her bedroom, leaving the door wide open. I watched as she peeled off her clothes, her back to me. My heartbeat quickened. She definitely knew what she was doing, and I couldn't help but take it all in. When she reappeared, she wore a tight, low-cut V-dress that left little to the imagination. Her confidence seemed to amp up even more, and I knew it was now or never. I stood up, setting my drink aside. You look amazing, I said, taking a step closer. Marie blushed but didn't move away. I leaned in, kissing her gently, testing the waters. I don't know, she whispered, her eyes a tempest of lust and hesitation. Determined not to push too hard, I suggest we head downtown. It's a nice night, think a bar might suit us better. Marie nods, her uncertainty replaced with a curious glint. We leave her apartment, stepping into the cooler outdoor air. I can feel a change in the atmosphere between us, charged, laden with unsaid words and electric anticipation. At the first bar, I make sure I'm close enough to guide her with gentle touches. A hand on her shoulder as we navigate through the crowd, my fingers brushing the small of her back as we find seats. Marie's eyes dart to my arm each time, and I can sense her slowly relaxing, drawn further into the moment. 2 Manhattan specials I order, my voice confident yet casual. As our drinks arrive, I finally settle into a rhythm, leaning in just enough to make our conversation private. The hum of the bar goes unnoticed as Marie opens up. I was raised so strictly, Utah can really be confining. Her eyes search mine, trying to gauge my reaction. Yeah, I can only imagine, I say, focusing all my attention on her. Growing up in Atlanta, I had my own set of rules, but nothing like that. Marie takes a deep breath and continues. I've had this forbidden attraction to black men. My family wouldn't approve. But here, it feels different. I can be myself. I nod, digesting her words. Different is good. And you definitely deserve to explore whatever makes you happy. My fingers find their way to her hand, wrapping them in reassuring warmth. As the night progresses, we continue bar hopping, each venue adding layers to our connection. With every drink, Marie's laughter becomes freer, her touch more assured. Outside one bar, a light drizzle begins, and I pull her into an alleyway to keep us dry, pressing closer than before. Her body relaxes into mine, and I lean down to whisper in her ear. You're gorgeous. I feel her shiver in response, her breath catching. Our lips meet, tentative at first, then deepening with an urgency that speaks volumes. We break apart when laughter from a nearby couple drifts over, and Marie's cheeks flush with color. Let's not stop, she murmurs, her voice husky. Your place, I suggest, my thumb brushing her lower lip. In the back seat of the Uber, the city's lights blur past us. By the time we step out of the car, both of us are breathless. Inside her apartment, there's no hesitation. Marie whispers, Marcus, I've wanted this for so long. Her admission fuels me. I spin her around, pressing her against the wall. God, you are incredible, I say, setting a relentless pace as she has her finals again and again. We stumble to the couch, both of us too eager to care about the logistics. I lift her. Please give it to me. I want OT, have baby Marie begs, her desperation striking a chord deep within. I pause, the words echoing. She doesn't know, can't know I had a vasectomy. I am focusing every ounce of energy on making this moment count. That's it, Marie. Just let go. At this moment, we both are ending it with satisfaction. Morning light filtered through the blinds, painting stripes across Marie's back. She stirred next to me, her movements tentative, like a cat unsure of a new toy. I leaned back against the pillows, observing her as she shifted to the edge of the bed, eyes cast downward. Morning, I attempted. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier, her silence louder than any response she could have given. She nodded, but didn't meet my eyes. I need some time. Her discomfort was clear, etched into the lines of her face, making me realize my presence was only adding to her turmoil. I get it, I'll head out. I dressed quickly, avoiding any unnecessary movements. Her dog trotted over, nuzzling my leg. Lucky little guy, oblivious to human complexities. I patted his head, grabbed my phone, and left with a final glance at her. Days passed, and my texts to her seemed to drift into a void. Each unanswered message was a silent rejection. Our brief exchanges in the hallway were even colder. A quick hello, eyes darting away, and swift strides took her out of sight. The roller coaster of our night together had left her reeling, while for me it was another chapter closed. I dived back into my routine, gym sessions, work, nights out with friends. But every so often my thoughts would drift back to Marie. Her transformation from shy newcomer to someone who took a risk, if only for a night. Months crawled by. One evening, I was mindlessly scrolling through Facebook when her name popped up on the suggested friend list. Curious, I clicked on her profile. What I saw punched me with a wave of mixed emotions. There she was, smiling broadly in a photo, a ring prominently displayed on her finger. Beside her stood a guy, arguably nerdy looking but wearing an expression of pure adoration. Engaged. I sat back, letting the realization wash over me. That night we shared, as fleeting as it was, had been a pivotal moment for her. Maybe I had shown her a glimpse of the freedom she sought, enough to push her towards a different path. Life moved on, as it always does. I felt a weird sense of satisfaction, realizing my role in her journey. We were ships passing in the night, but perhaps my presence had steered her closer to her true self. I pocketed my phone, stood up, and headed out the door. A new day, awaiting new stories, new faces, and perhaps another fleeting but memorable experience.